Well, with Second Chronicles 23, continuing this story of Athaliah. Now, this is the first and basically only woman who was a ruler of Judah, basically, and she kind of put herself into power. If you go back and read the last chapter or get into Second Kings, I believe it's somewhere around chapter 10 or 11 is where you can learn more about that in Second Kings, a little bit more detail. So in this chapter, if you remember, if you remember from the last chapter, that she killed all the next in line males, basically, who would take the kingship, so she could be the queen of Judah. So, except one, the priests kept one hidden, and drama is about to happen in this chapter. So let's jump in. So, verse 1, and in the 7th year, Jehoiada strengthened himself and took the captains of hundreds, Azariah the son of Jehoram, Ishmael son of Jehoanna, Azariah son of Obed, Maaseiah the son of Adiah, and Elisaphat the son of Zichri into covenant with him. Now, just remember, Jehoiada is the priest who is hiding the young descendant who should be the king. That's Joash. So what Jehoiada is doing is he is working to form a military coup, basically. Verse 2, and they went about in Judah and gathered the Levites out of all the cities of Judah and the chief of the fathers of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. So remember, the Levites are the priests. Okay, so he's getting the chief rulers, which is more of your political class. He's bringing the priests in. He's got the military leaders on his side. He's forming this ability to basically help put the get Athaliah out of power and get the new son, the Joash, basically the one son that's survived from Jehoshaphat, into power. So, or Jehoshaphat's son, basically. Verse 3, and all the congregation made a covenant with the king in the house of God, and he said unto them, behold, the king's son shall reign, as the Lord hath said of the sons of David. This is the thing that ye shall do. A third part of you entering on the Sabbath of the priests and of the Levites shall be porters of the doors. The third part shall be at the king's house, and a third part at the gate of the foundation, and all the people shall be in the courts of the house of the Lord. But let none come into the house of the Lord, save the priests and they that minister of the Levites. They shall go in, for they are holy, but all the people shall keep the watch of the Lord. And the Levites shall compass the king round about, every man with his weapon in his hand. And whosoever else cometh into the house, he shall be put to death. But be ye with the king when he cometh in and when he goeth out. So just pause for a second. They're putting this plan in place. And I talked about a coup with the military. They're not necessarily running in, killing all the government people and taking over like what we'd think of today. That happens in a lot of third world countries. What they're saying is basically we are staging his coronation and we're protecting him from the current rulers. So we're helping to get the public opinion going in the right direction and get the priest to anoint him as king, so that it makes it more legit and will completely challenge the queen, basically Athaliah, which does mean it's going to put a conflict in place here because she's not going to go willingly out of it. So it's going to cause some problems. Excuse me. So verse 8, so the Levites and all Judah did according to all things that Jehoiada the priest had commanded, and took every man his men that were to come in on the Sabbath, and with them that were to go out on the Sabbath. For Jehoiada the priest dismissed not the courses. Moreover, Jehoiada the priest delivered to the captains of hundreds spears and bucklers and shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of God. And he set all the people, every man having his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the temple to the left side of the temple, along by the altar and the temple, by the king round about. Then they brought out the king's son, and put upon him the crown, and gave him the testimony, or basically divine charge, if you look at the footnotes there, and made him king. And Jehoiada and his sons anointed him and said, God save the king. So this is, they've got him protected in case someone tried to disrupt their services. They've got him ready to go, and now they've made him king. So verse 12, let's learn about what happens when Athaliah learns what's been going on. Now when Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she came to the people into the house of the Lord. So she's going, what is going on over at the temple? What is happening? People are praising the king. What king? There is no king. I am the queen. So she goes to investigate, basically, and figure out what's happening here. Verse 13, and she looked, and behold, the king stood at his pillar at the entering in. And the princes and the trumpets by the king and all the people of the land rejoiced, and sounded with trumpets, also the singers with instruments of music, and such as taught to sing praise. Then Athaliah rent her clothes and said, Treason! Treason! Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains of hundreds that were set over the host, and said unto them, Have her forth of the ranges, or between the ranks, kind of hold on to her, keep her away. And whoso followeth her, let him be slain with the sword. For the priest said, Slay her not in the house of the Lord. So they laid hands on her, and when she was come to the entering of the horse gate by the king's house, they slew her there. So she claimed they are treasonous by bringing Joash in, basically. That's all treason. She's the queen. She's the government. That going against her is treason. So she's trying to establish herself and keep her power going. And the Jehoiada, the priest, says, no, you're the one that's wrong. You're the one that's committing treason here. This is the rightful king. So because he's the priest and everybody else I believes him more, that the guards followed him and took her out and killed her, basically. It says, let's see, verse 16, and Jehoiada made a covenant between him and between all the people and between the king that they should be the Lord's people. Then all the people went to the house of Baal and brake it down and brake his altars and his images in pieces and slew Mattan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. Also Jehoiada appointed the offices of the house of the Lord by the hand of the priests of the Levites, whom David had distributed in the house of the Lord, to offer the burnt offerings of the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, as it was ordained by David. And he set the porters at the gates of the house of the Lord, that none which was unclean in anything should enter in. And he took the captains of hundreds, and the nobles, and the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought down the king from the house of the Lord, and they came through the high gate into the king's house, and set the king upon the throne of the kingdom. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after that they had slain Athaliah with the sword. So the people were probably not very happy about Athaliah being in there. They were happy to get her out and to put the rightful king into place, basically. So hopefully this brings some more stability to Israel. Joash is a bit of a young king at this point, but let's jump into the next chapter to see what he does as now he is the new king of Judah.